When people speak about the epoch of great geographical discoveries, his name is the last one in the list. Though due to the efforts of this romantic of long voyages and the fanatical soldier crusader, Portugal started the colonial capture of Africa, and black slaves were delivered to Europe for the first time. But the organizer of these campaigns left for sea only 3 times in his life, and no farther than 200 miles. And still the Portuguese Prince Henrique was worthy to have a proud nickname, the Navigator. Infant Henrique, or Henrique, was the son of the Portuguese king Juan and Philippa of Lancaster, who brought the traditions of the British knighthood to the country. Henrique and his brothers were taught 7 knightly virtues: to write poems, to ride, to fence, to play draughts, to hunt, and to swim. But the prime interest of the young man was to master a spear, though he did not neglect studying natural sciences and theology. The knighthood, as military and religious service, determined the whole subsequent life of infant Henrique. When he was 21, he became the initiator of capture of Moor Fortress in the north of Africa, the first sea campaign of the future inspirer of Portuguese sea conquests was only 150 miles long. The king entrusted the defense of Ceuta, a new outpost of the Portuguese on the African coast, to infant Henrique. For this purpose, the prince was allowed full and uncontrolled possession of a certain part of treasury incomes, and in 5 years, Henrique became the great master of the Christ order. That time, the infant held in hands the enormous clerical, military, and financial authority, and Prince Henrique used the authority in the best way for Portugal. From the disenthralled Christian slaves, Henrique found out about caravans which transported gold through the African desert from coast of Guinea to Muslim ports of the Mediterranean Sea. The prince was proficient in geography and decided that Guinea could be reached by sea. Then it would be possible to bring the treasure taken away from the infidels to Lisbon. Besides, passing round the Muslim territories from the south, it would be possible to reach Christian Ethiopia and to begin the profitable trade, and then to reach India by sea. The scientific curiosity supported by exact geographical maps found in Ceuta were added to the aggressive plans of the infant. And when Henrique's brother Prince Pedro brought from Venice the manuscript of book by Marco Polo, already a famous traveler at that time, the infant determined to find out the lands that are to the south of Ceuta. Henrique was occupied with the organization of sea campaigns to northwest coast of Africa. Upon Prince Henrique's insistence, in 1431, astronomy and mathematics were included in the program of Lisbon University. In 1438, infant Henrique founded the observatory and a school for navigators called Via do Infante at Cape St. Vincent in the fortress of Sagres. The outstanding scientists, cartographers, astronomers, and navigators from the whole of Europe were invited there, and Prince Henrique participated in discussions together with scientists. All the worthy people, irrespective of their class, ethnic or religious distinctions, were enrolled in the school, though it was unusual for Catholic Portugal of the 15th century. Thanks to the efforts of the prince, Via do Infante became the first scientific center in European history. A huge wind rose of 43 meters in diameter, that is the diagram of a long-term supervision over the direction and force of winds, remained in the fortress till now. Inspired by the support of the prince, captains of the Portuguese caravels opened island Midieri in 1418. Henry started to develop new lands, and soon the first settlers appeared on Midieri and began to deliver wine to their metropolis, the wine that was of rare quality, even for winemaking Portugal. Then, for a whole decade, Henrique persistently equipped sea campaigns to the Canary Islands, but captains could not pass the underwater rocks at Cape Bojador as the ships developed leaks and sank. The ill-fated cape, where there were dragons as people considered at that time, was doubled in 1434 from the side of the open ocean by Captain Yannis. The way to Western Africa was open for Portugal, and Henrique received an honorable nickname, the Navigator. Why did the infant himself never start any distant expeditions? Probably Henrique was afraid of pirates, for he considered it offensive for a person of royal blood to stay among sailors. But most likely, the prince considered it his pivotal task to analyze reports of captains, to separate the truth from fiction, and to equip new expeditions. The romantic of distant wanderings, Henrique the Navigator deliberately closed the sea for himself, and as a true knight, kept his word. Henrique was never married. Being reserved and somber, he considered himself guilty of the death of his junior brother, Ferdinand, who was taken prisoner to Moors during their unsuccessful sea expedition to Tangier. Henrique spent his last years in Sagres, being surrounded with pupils of the Navigator school. 2 years prior to death, he put to sea for a short while for the third time. Henrique the Navigator died on November 13, 1460. His deed was continued by the well-known Portuguese seamen Bartholomew Dias, Vasco da Gama, and the greatest of Infant's followers, Fernão de Magalhães. Being on service of the Spanish crown, he became known as Magellan. All of them owe their achievements to the Portuguese Prince Henrique the Navigator, to the person whose coat of arms was decorated with the following words: the desire to do well.